Tonight on Elon Local News.
Taking off, fall break travel could bring COVID-19 cases and clusters back to campus.
Moving up.
The moment that it was announced, I have to say I was very honored.
Student coordinators share their pride as Sylvia Munoz officially takes over as the new Creed director.
And getting in gear, before you leave for break, we have some tips for keeping your car safe.
All that and more.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you're watching Elon Local News.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining us for our final broadcast before fall break. You're looking at some national headlines now, and we're excited to welcome you inside and talk about some local news tonight.
This is Elon Local News from the Jane and Brian Williams studio. I'm Chloe Franklin.
And I'm Baylor Rodman.
We begin tonight with some team coronavirus coverage.
Elon identified a COVID-19 cluster of 15 positive cases among members of the Alpha Kappa Psi co-ed business fraternity, which was verified over the past week. 43 students participated in an off-campus trip over the weekend from October the 1st to the 3rd. According to President of AK Psi Adam DeBowie, the trip was not affiliated with the group, nor did they use any Student Government Association funding. DeBowie says the group has spoken with administrators about the number of cases, but he was disappointed with how the Healthy Elon update informed the school about the cluster. He told ENN, quote, "This was not an AK Psi event. There was no organization funding used for this event, and it was not planned by the organization. I feel hurt and disappointed that my efforts to explain how this was not an AK Psi event seem to have been ignored by the administration," end quote. Dean of Students Janelyn Patterson says there are currently no other emerging clusters on campus.
Now with fall break only 2 days away and many students traveling for their days off, I looked into how this might affect COVID on campus. Many students are planning to travel for fall break, but university physician Dr. Jeanette Archinal says it shouldn't cause extra concern.
Fall break's no different from any other weekend away, anything else that everybody's been doing since we've been on campus. There are risks always with travel.
Archinal advises students to continue following CDC guidelines.
Wear a mask, wear it properly, wash your hands, carry your hand sanitizer with you, all the things that we did last year.
Sophomore Alex Campbell is flying to Minnesota to visit her grandparents over fall break. She says she's taking precautions like getting a COVID test before and after her trip.
Especially for me, being in an airport, I know I like to change my clothes after I get off the plane, change my mask and wash my hands. So just things I would do to avoid the flu, even just keep doing that.
Sophomore Matthew Barker will be flying home to Illinois over fall break. He says when he left home, the state was considered a hot spot, but has since improved. He says he thinks there could be an increase in COVID cases on campus when students return from break, but believes the school is prepared.
But at least we've got a plan in place now, and we're not going to panic right away if it does happen.
Barker believes that life must go on.
As long as we're being careful, we got to keep living, we got to keep moving, and we can't just stay holed up for the rest of our time in college.
Archinal encourages students to apply these safety precautions to combat not only COVID-19, but other illnesses as well. Archinal said it could be up to 2 weeks before we find out how fall break travel will affect campus.
As we approach the deadline for students to get their flu shot, the university says over 1,500 students have received the shot, while 44 have submitted exemption forms as of the end of September. This year, students are required to get the flu vaccine or submit a medical or religious exemption by October 29th, compared to the beginning of January last year. University spokesman Owen Covington told ENN requiring the shot before flu season begins could help prevent even more cases this year. According to the CDC, flu cases typically begin to spike in December. To register for a flu shot appointment, go to the Healthy Elon website at elon.edu/healthyelon.
Sylvia Munoz is officially taking over as a new Assistant Dean and Director for the Center for Race, Ethnicity, and Diversity Education after filling in the position for 4 months. Before this, she was the Associate Director of the Creed and Director of El Centro. Our Naomi Washington has more on how her leadership is inspiring students on campus.
Already known to wear many hats on Elon's campus, Sylvia Munoz is now also leading the Creed Center. The university announced her promotion to Assistant Dean and Director earlier this month.
The moment that it was announced, I have to say I was very honored and excited, but also very humbled, right, by the reaction of colleagues and students.
Elon's sophomore Manuela Cornique Fernandez is also from Costa Rica. She says it's inspiring to have someone from the same country as her get to this point.
It's cool to know that, oh, hey, that could be me. If I want to make a life for myself outside of where I'm from, it's possible. She's like an example of that.
Munoz began working at Elon in 1998. She says her passion for students has never faded.
I believe in the work that we do here. I love the students that we get to work with. The students of color in particular, but also the students that want to learn a little bit more about what it means, like what their identities mean.
Creed Center coordinator Gayatri Chopra says she's excited for Munoz to be in this role because she cares about more than just checking boxes.
It kind of shows like how selfless of a leader that she is. Again, always being like that support system for a student.
Although the students of El Centro are happy for Munoz, they worry about the El Centro director position being empty.
Now we don't really know what's going to happen because she's not going to be here as much. She's going to be over at the Creed. So that is a little bit scary, but I have faith that she'll make it work.
Both Fernandez and Chopra hope that having Munoz in the director role will help the Creed and El Centro collaborate even more. Naomi Washington, Elon Local News.
To read more about Munoz and her new title, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com. Elon Mayor George Tolley is not running for re-election this November, but two hopeful candidates are vying to take his place. Alderwoman Emily Sharp and Michael Woods are with us tonight here in studio. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you all coming on. So first and foremost, just tell us a little bit about the campaign trail, how it's like out there, and what you're really hearing from voters in the town. Emily, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think that campaigning during a pandemic is certainly different than campaigning 4 years ago when I ran for alderman. And so it's been really different. Last time we knocked on hundreds of doors, and it's just been slower to get out there and get to the voters. So we've been hosting virtual events and, events in neighborhoods along the way. And it's just really different because nobody really wants a stranger knocking on their door during a pandemic. So it's been really interesting.
Michael?
Well, as Emily just said, same thing. We're just getting on the phone, calling people, trying to introduce ourselves to the community, and just trying to get our message out.
So tell me, why is it important, and Michael, we'll start with you, for you to be in this race right now? What is the number one thing that is your campaign achievement that you hope to do?
My goal is to bring bold new change to the community. This is a college town, and we have to, just be there for the college kids. Diversity, inclusion, more shops, things to make their college experience more enjoyable.
Sure. Emily?
And for me, I'm running for mayor because I love this town and I want to continue to see it do well. Certainly, economic development is so important. Sure. In not just for the students, but for our residents as well, because, our residents do have a large tax burden. About 40% of our land is not taxed. So that means, we are providing services to 12,000 people with a budget for 6,000 people.
Sure.
So, really just taking a leadership role to advocate, at the state level and even at the federal level for more funding for towns like ours. And finding those creative revenue sources, because raising taxes in the town of Elon only gets us about $60,000. And if you know anything about government, $60,000 doesn't get you very far. So, raising taxes doesn't really help us to achieve our goals. So being creative and advocating for Elon and other college towns is going to be important.
All right. Well, the juices are flowing at the table. I'm excited to continue the conversation. We're going to head to commercial in a quick second, but don't go anywhere because Emily Sharp and Michael Woods will join me right after the break.
Coming up, we've got what you need to know before a long drive for fall break.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Well, good evening again. I'm joined, as promised, by Emily Sharp and Michael Woods. They're running for the Elon mayoral seat this November the 2nd. And so let's continue the conversation. So how does the university factor into your goals as a potential mayor? Michael?
I'm from Durham, North Carolina, and the city of Durham has always just been there for those children, and I want this Elon to do the same.
Sure.
To embrace the children and let them experience college life in a wonderful city like Elon.
Emily?
Yeah, and for me, you know, people always ask me the question, being on the Board of Aldermen, you know, they ask questions about, you know, what's the town's greatest asset and what's the greatest barrier? And my response is Elon University, because there's certainly such a tremendous asset in terms of the economic value, the educational value. You know, they bring so much, and I love it when the students are here. They engage with us. They come to our community cleanups, which there's one this Saturday, and, you know, just participate with the town. But also, you know, Elon University has 656 acres in our town that are untaxed. And so that means, again, that we're providing a lot of services without the funding that's necessarily needed. So really developing the relationship that we already have. COVID has really improved that relationship, and just continuing down that same road of, you know, developing that relationship, finding the things that we can all mutually benefit from, and working toward those.
So, you know, sometimes we hear a little bit of a disconnect between the residents of the town of Elon and students. Relationships seem to alter. Is that something that you're hearing on the campaign trail as well? And what are you doing to hopefully kind of get rid of that gap between those two demographics?
Yeah, so, you know, on the Board of Aldermen, we do have several individuals who will come and they'll share, you know, grievances about the students. And one of the first questions that I have asked in, you know, in a public meeting is, well, have you talked to them? And the answer is almost always no.
Sure.
And so bridging that gap is so important, getting the neighbors to know them. There is one family, the Scotts, they invite all the students who live on their street to a barbecue every year. They get to know them, and I think that that's a really good way to engage with the students. I'm also on the Neighborhood Coalition, which is a group of students and residents, and how we can better, you know, be good neighbors. And I also developed an educational program, which is launching this fall, talking to students about, you know, hey, you know, you're renting in a residential neighborhood. Sure. What are you, you know, going to do to be a good neighbor?
Michael?
I think that I like a mentor program to where if we have a call about a student or organization, we'll go out, we'll meet with them, we'll talk about it. You know, we have residents here, but we have to coexist.
Sure.
And so I think we can resolve issues like that.
All right. Well, the conversation's starting here, but also ending here tonight. But like I said, thank you so much for joining us. The election is November the 2nd. We report, you decide. For all of the coverage on our Election Day coverage, you can go to elonnewsnetwork.com to find everything Election Day 2021. But Emily, Michael, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Sure.
Thank you.
And many of you watching tonight may be getting ready to travel long distances for fall break. Joining us live in studio is Emery Bonner with more on prepping your car for the big trip. Emery?
Thank you, Baylor. I talked to one local automotive shop who says there's certain steps students should keep in mind to be ready for emergencies.
Gearing up for the journey home. Owner of Wilson Tire Pros and Automotive, Stephen Moss, says planning the drive is the first step. Know what stops you plan to make and how much gas you need to make it to your final destination. He says students should also check that everything in their car works properly and make sure you have enough air in your tires to handle cooler temperatures.
You know, nobody has a crystal ball. We can't do anything to guarantee you won't have any issues, but we can do the best effort that we can to ensure that we go over the basics and that you have the best start as you can.
If you don't prepare before you leave, there could be consequences.
If you choose to not do that, you're just increasing the percentage chance that you could have an issue on the way home.
Car care is also about having the right supplies handy. Moss says you should carry a blanket, a phone charger, a flashlight, a few healthy snacks, and water. Something Moss also emphasizes is safety on the road if you get in an accident or break down on the highway. He says there are a few do's and don'ts when this happens.
Don't put yourself in a position that's unsafe. You may ruin the tire. That's okay. We can replace tires. We can't replace somebody that gets injured or hurt, so get off to a safe place on the road.
He also says to be aware of your surroundings when getting help from a stranger and stay in your vehicle. For Moss, one of the most important points is to be prepared but not afraid.
Knowing that anything can happen, plan ahead and allow yourself some time in there so that if something does happen, doesn't ruin your day. It's not the complete end of the world.
For more travel tips before you hit the road, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com. Now let's shift gears to gas and planning those fuel stops like Moss said. As of today, gas prices per gallon are staying pretty high, and according to AAA, prices are $1.08 more than last year at this time. The price is not close to Elon vary, as you can see. Like Pure on East Hager Avenue is the cheapest option with $2.99, and Circle K just down the street is $3.07. If you're headed north for break, it may be best to fuel up in North Carolina. The state average is lower than Virginia, which is $3.10. For those headed south, it's the opposite. The farther south you head, the cheaper it will be to fuel up. South Carolina averages at $3.02. The most important thing, again, is to make sure you've got enough gas to make it to your final stop. Baylor and Chloe, back to you.
Emery Bonner, thank you so much.
Elon University has just completed their 3 months post-graduation survey with the class of 2021. 75% of the students who responded are in a job, and 19% of them are in graduate school. Nearly 95% reported that their position is in line with their career path. I sat down with Elon's director of the Student Professional Development Center, Brooke Buffington, discussing the numbers, the new look to the corporate world brought by COVID, and how Elon is preparing our students as they embark in their professional careers.
In the world of work for the next 18 months, it will continue to be, we'll call it a reshuffle, right? Where employers and organizations are figuring out if they are staying in the office, are they going back in the office, are they staying hybrid, are they having a flexible work environment? What is their next step? And our students are finding jobs and internships while the industry is in this upheaval or this reshuffle. And so what we're working with students on is, instead of having to just be good in an interview room, our students now have to be good on Zoom.
It seems that we've also been trying to push very solely to in-person in terms of the academics. And I know that, as you would say, right, that's just not where employers are at right now. And so how do we balance both of that in the classroom, you think?
I don't necessarily think that it's the responsibility of the academic classroom to say, right, let's practice what this looks like. You could potentially do it through a project in the classroom, right, where they have to present something over a video. The classroom engagement can be in person, but there can be components of the work within the classroom that are virtual. So just understanding that the postgraduate world is different and providing tools with which, if faculty want to engage that hybrid environment in the classroom, we have the tools available here to help them do that, and making sure that we're meeting those needs at the Student Professional Development Center as well.
What are some of the things that you're really hearing from companies across the country, across the globe, in terms of what they're looking for and how they see themselves moving forward?
As far as what we're hearing from employers about the post kind of COVID or currently COVID environment, is they are a bit unsettled as well. Right? They're trying to determine how to keep their culture, their company culture, organizational culture in place if they continue in a remote environment or in a remote work style, or if they move to a hybrid, right? How do you bring in new talent and let them feel and get a taste of the company culture if the entire company is working remotely?
To watch my full sit-down exclusive with SBDC Director Brooke Buffington, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
After this, how one local business owner is managing her merchandise during uncertain times.
Small business owners across the globe are facing the ripple effects of supply chain disruption, even the ones across the street from campus. Our Ashlyn Deloe has the story.
It's March 2020, the peak of the pandemic, and owner of All That Jazz, Michelle Graybeal, found herself doing the unimaginable.
Oh my gosh, how are we going to survive this? That was our number one thing. And we did. We closed for about 6 months.
Now, nearly 2 years later, supply chain issues caused by the pandemic are leaving business owners like Graybill without stock and unsure of when it will come in.
When we're doing group orders, we might be ordering 150 shirts. Well, try to find 150 of the same shirts right now. It is a challenge. I was literally yesterday looking for a group, and it took 6 vendors all over the country to be able to find 150 shirts.
To stay afloat, business owners are reducing risk. For Graybill, this means outsourcing to different vendors or sometimes changing the customer's shirt color, brand, or style. Graybill says 2 organizations on campus regularly place orders with her, Panhellenic and my sorority, Sigma Kappa. Elon Jr. Mel Jones is Sigma Kappa's t-shirt chair and has been working with Graybill since the start of the semester.
Michelle is like so amazing about finding stuff. Like she always has another option for us.
According to experts in the field, the supply chain disruptions are expected to balance out, but not for a long time. And until then, Graybill says she will keep doing what she does best. Put her customers first.
We are all about customer service, so we're going to work super hard, I think more than a lot of people would, to go that extra mile to make sure it happens.
Ashlyn Delowy, Elon Local News.
Jones says she encourages other students to order through All That Jazz and support Graybill's small business. Elon Local News will be back after this.
Shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it. First impression. My way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
Open road, here comes the Heffley family.
Whether it's a short trip or a long haul.
Estimated time, 47 hours.
They will beg.
You're hungry? I'm happy to provide.
They will plead.
Deep fried butter on a stick.
But whatever you do, don't wimp out.
Now you're talking.
Make them buckle up.
He can't hurt.
Remember, safety first. Cheese curls second.
Are you orange?
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 28 minutes after the hour, and our Haley Phelps joins us live on Citron Plaza with our Phoenix 5-day forecast. Haley.
Thank you, Baylor and Chloe. Today we had gray skies, and as we move into this evening, we are starting to see temperatures drop to around the mid-50s. But don't worry, because later this week we will have plenty of partly sunny skies and warmer weather. Let's take a look now at your Phoenix 5-day forecast. Tomorrow there will be a high of 78 and a low of 58. Moving into Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, highs will be in the 80s, making for nice weather to kick off fall break, with Friday being the warmest day with a high of 86. So if you're sticking around on campus for fall break, I would definitely recommend getting outside and taking advantage of this great weather. Now back to you at the desk.
Well, that's all the news we have for you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
For all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And be sure to follow us on social media at Elon News Network.
We'll return next Thursday with ELN Morning.
Have a great fall break, Elon.